The Old English period, the Middle Ages. Important dates: 43 to 420 Roman invasion and occupation of Britain. 450 Anglo-Saxon conquest. 1066 Norman Conquest. 1200 beginning of Middle English literature. 1485 Caxton's printing of Malory. The Middle Ages covers time span from collapse of the Roman Empire to the Renaissance. Time period of more than 800 years. 1485 End of the Middle Ages. A time of change. Roman Catholic Church provided continuity. Norman Conquest added French words to the English vocabulary. Cross-currents of languages and literatures during this period. Literature in English was performed orally and written throughout the Middle Ages, but uniquely English literature does not exist before the late 14th century. English began to displace French at the end of the 14th century in Parliament and courts of law. Anglo-Saxon England. From 1st to 5th century, England was province of Roman Empire. Named Britannia. When the Romans withdrew during the 5th century, Ireland was invaded by Germanic seafarers. These belonged to three tribes: the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes. Conversion to Christianity. Britons became Christian in the 4th century. In 597, a Benedictine monk was sent by Pope Gregory as a missionary to King Ethelbert of Kent, and missionaries from Ireland began to preach Christianity in the north. Within 75 years, the island was Christian. The first extended written specimen of Old English, Anglo-Saxon, language is a code of laws. England produced many distinguished churchmen, including Bede. Invasions by the Danes. In the 9th century, Christian Anglo-Saxons were subjected to invasions by the Danes. They were stopped by King Alfred. King Alfred was an enthusiastic patron of literature. Old English poetry, oral tradition. Literacy was restricted to men of the church. Most of Old English literature is religious. Most of Old English poetry is contained in just 4 manuscripts. Heroic values. Heroic values of Germanic society continued to inspire clergy and laity in the Christian era. Heroic values. Tribe is ruled by king who surrounds himself with a band of retainers. He leads men to battle and rewards them with gifts and treasures. Retainers are obligated to fight for their lord to the death. Blood vengeance is a sacred duty. The best poetry of the period is both Christian and heroic. Characteristics of Old English poetry. Harsh worldview. Formal speech. Elevated language. Irony. Contrast pagan and Christian. Fate. The past. Violence. Values of warrior society. Anglo-Norman England. The Normans took possession of England in 1066. They adopted French language and Christian religion. Henry II, first of England's Plantagenet kings. Languages. During the Anglo-Norman period, 4 languages coexisted: Latin, French, English, and Celtic. The Latin Bible provided subject for Old English poetry and prose. Attraction to Celtic legends. Marie de France and Créty de Trois romances. King Arthur and his court acquired immense popularity. Romance involves a knight proving his worthiness through nobility of character and brave deeds. Religious literature aimed at women, saints' lives, the Ancrian Rale. Middle English literature in the 14th century. Old English replaces French in literature. 30 Years' War. The bubonic plague wiped out 1/3 of European population. A time of social unrest. Church becomes target of resentment because of its wealth and worldliness. Great European poets of the 14th century include Dante, Petrarch, Marie de France, and Boccaccio. English writers of the 14th century include Chaucer, William Langland, the Pearl Poet, and the author of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. The 15th century. War of the Roses between Lancasters and Yorks ended with King Henry VII's ascension to the throne. Performances of mystery plays and morality plays. Mystical writings, Julian of Norwich and Marjorie Kemper. Lydgate. Malory. Caxton's printing press introduced in 1476. Caxton's publication of Malory's Morte d'Arthur,